Hey guys, what is going on? It is me, BakuriBox12 here, and welcome back to another Realm of the Mad God guide video. I decided to take a small detour from the Crawling Depths guide in favor of something that people actually wanted to see. I've been asked to make a pet guide for quite some time now, but I never quite understood how to go about it without feeling redundant. I was under the impression that most people knew how pets worked, and the small minority of those who didn't would quickly learn on their own. That being said, there are a few small details and beginner's traps that I feel need to be emphasized. Plus, I feel it's my moral obligation at this point to make new players feel as comfortable as they can, since I know some may be discouraged by the overall difficulty and lag. So pets, what are they? Where do they come from, and what do they do? Pets originated as accessory items that could be purchased in the shop for gold, and depending on the time of year, different pets would be in rotation. The thing to take note of though is that they were purely accessory. They didn't have any abilities. You would double click or shift click them in your inventory, and then it would spawn at your side and follow you around wherever you went, nothing more. A couple years ago though, Kabam, the previous owner, made a drastic change to the way pets were used. Where do I begin? Pets now drop in egg form, either in a potion bag from dungeon bosses or in an egg bag from Godlands. It is possible to get an egg basket from a dungeon, it just means you didn't get full soulbound. But even so, Godlands is definitely the way to go when farming for eggs. The fast rate at which you can kill an infinite amount of gods means that you'll get your hands on some eggs in no time. With that, there are now 5 tiers of egg rarity as well, but you'll most likely only see 1 common eggs. I have scored 2 rare eggs from dungeon bosses before, both of which were orangutans oddly enough, but don't count on that. It's extremely rare and unreliable. Above common, we have uncommon eggs, then rare, legendary, and finally divine. But we'll talk about those as we work our way up from the bottom. The biggest change, however, was the addition of pet abilities. No longer do they simply follow you around, now they have up to 3 out of 9 possible skills to activate during gameplay. Heal, magic heal, attack close, attack mid, attack far, electric, savage, rising fury, and decoy. Sounds interesting. Surely with this variety, they must all be useful in their own way, right? Yeah, okay, I'm gonna save you some time here. If you plan on pouring large amounts of time and possibly money into maxing your pet, the only abilities you need are heal and magic heal, as I'm sure you could guess. The other abilities are fine, but they pale in comparison to the main duo. The third ability can be whatever you want, really. Some like to go the electric route because it paralyzes and damages enemies, but for others that can also be a tad unpredictable and inconvenient, especially in places like the Tomb of the Ancients, where your pet keeps randomly paralyzing the bosses, throwing everybody off and changing the rotation. It can cause confusion if you aren't used to it, so it's up to you on which ability you settle for. Alright, let's take it from the top. When you get your first egg, you may notice that it varies in color from others. That's because there are 14 families that your egg can fall into, indicated by the color. Aquatic, automaton, avian, canine, exotic, farm, feline, humanoid, insect, penguin, reptile, spooky, woodland, and unknown. There are also mystery eggs that randomly select one of the above. So what do you do with your egg now? Well, you gotta hatch it, of course. How do you do that? Either in your vault or Nexus, go to the green pet yard portal and hatch your eggs there. It is possible to reach a maximum occupancy on the number of pets in the yard, but I doubt that'll be an issue, and even if it is, you can always release your pets at any time to make space. Just keep in mind that once released, they can't ever be recovered. Hover over your newly hatched critter and you'll see its stats, as well as the option to follow or release. I think it's pretty self-explanatory what those mean. Now, you may notice that you only have the first of your 3 abilities unlocked at level 1. This is fine. As your pet grows, it will unlock its remaining attributes in time. But you may be asking, how do I know what abilities my pet will have? Is it completely random? Not entirely. This is where I'm going to ask you to come on over to pfiffle.com, a website that every Realm player should visit. If we go to the pet viewer, we can filter the list by family, rarity, and first ability. This way, we can see what the first ability of every pet in the game is guaranteed to be. You can scroll right on down to the heal section and take note of the exact eggs that you need to hunt down. That being said, you may have heard from people that you should go after the humanoid eggs specifically. Even though there are clearly 8 pet types that have heal for their first ability, the chance of those exact pets hatching from their respective eggs isn't guaranteed. Take aquatic for instance. There's a blue snail, green frog, purple snail, purple frog, sea slurp, turtle, and a crab, all under the common category. But only the turtle's first ability will be heal. If you stumble upon an aquatic egg, there's only a 1 in 7 chance it'll be the one that you want. That's why everyone says to go with common humanoid eggs, because the only pet that hatches is a baby with heal, so it can save you a lot of time. Unfortunately, that also means that you can only get divine humanoid pets, which look Alright, some are cooler than others, but you'll be missing out on the 31 other possible sprites, which is a shame. Some of these are really cool, but they'll never be used because it's a gamble whether you get the golden heal and magic heal combo, since the first ability is already undesirable. Regardless of your pet's family though, the process of leveling up is the same for everyone. You must feed items to your pet, and depending on the amount of feed power indicated at the bottom, a certain amount of experience will be given. The higher the feed, the more levels you'll get out of it, and the higher level your pet is, the more feed power you need. Standard RPG knowledge. But it's not as simple as just handing the items over. You have to pay a fee to allow your pet to consume its food. This means even if you have a chest full of items ready to be fed, but you don't have the required fame or gold, you're stuck. You can either farm up a character and kill it, or whip out your credit card, neither of which are very preferable. It's a small paywall that starts out as 10 fame, okay, no big deal, then 30, still fine, then 100, alright, it's manageable, 350, okay, that's a bit much, and 1,000. Alright, well, the gold cost scales lower, of course, incentivizing you to spend money, but either way, it's an obstacle that you have to keep hurdling over until you're completely finished. So, keep feeding items until you reach level 30 and your common egg will be maxed. So, where do you go from here? How do you make the transition from common to uncommon? First, you need to upgrade the pet yard at least to the uncommon level. Only then can you move on to the next step. But feel free to go beyond that if you'd like. You'll have to do it eventually anyway. Be warned though, the fame cost for upgrading to the legendary pet yard is obscene. It starts out with 500 fame for the uncommon upgrade. Awesome, I can get that, no problem. Then it rises to 2,000. Sure, it's high, but that's fair. I assume the legendary will be somewhere around 10,000, 15,000, 25,000? Are you kidding me? Why? The pet feeding cost didn't have this kind of gap, so why here? And how come the gold cost is balanced? 150 to 400 to 1,200 to 2,000. That's how it should be. Who in their right mind decided to butcher the system like this? Oh, right, well, even so, if you think I'm gonna farm up 25,000 fame just to upgrade my pet yard, then I had better get started. Anyway, once you've properly upgraded everything, it's time to fuse. The only way to push your pet to the next level is to fuse it with another maxed common pet of the same family. You have to perform the same feeding process all over again to level 30, only this time you don't have to worry about the abilities. Any pet will do as long as it's in the same family. You see, when fusing pets together, one goes on the left and the other on the right. The one on the left will retain its abilities and physical form when moving on to the next rarity, while the one on the right is absorbed into the former. So as long as that heal and magic heal always stays on the left while fusing, you're all good. Keep in mind though, there is a fusion cost as well, and it can get pretty steep. They really want me to use real money, don't they? Okay, I want you to listen closely now, because there is a huge beginner's trap when fusing pets. A lot of players may jump to the conclusion of, hey, I'm gonna fuse to divine first and then focus on feeding my pet afterwards. No. That is a mistake, one that many players, myself included, have made. By fusing your pet's premature, say 2 level 20 commons, you have now reduced the maximum stat cap of your uncommon fusion. So if you just keep fusing without feeding a single scrap, you'll end up with a divine pet maxing at like level 11. If you only want a divine pet because of aesthetics, then go right ahead. But if you want a divine because it's broken in every sense of the word, then you have to feed first, then fuse. The uncommon rarity is where your stat cap is increased to level 50 and the second ability is unlocked, but it has some catching up to do since it hasn't been receiving any experience. This means that even when the first ability is maxed, you'll still need to feed the same pet until the second ability is maxed as well. The only exception to that rule would be if you only cared about your first stat. Say you have heal, attack, close, and savage. In that case, you could skip over maxing your other 2 abilities and cut some corners. You can simulate fusions on pfiffle to see what I'm talking about. Now, this may sound like a stupid question, but I guarantee someone will ask it. What happens to your pet when it levels up? What happens to its abilities? Well, you are in luck, because there is an entire page on RotMG dedicated to pet abilities. Leveling up your pet increases the potency and frequency of your ability. Heal for a level 1 common gives 10 health every 10 seconds, but a level 30 gives 14 health every 3.82 seconds. And when you max your uncommon, you'll be receiving 23 health every 2.66 seconds, and so forth. This is why divine pets are broken, because you'll be getting 90 health every second. Vitality? What is that? Also, while you're on RotMG, you can actually check to see how much feed that your pet needs to go to its next level. Just search your name and go to the Pet Yard tab. Then click on the icon next to one of your abilities and all of the information is right there. Pretty nifty. To get to rare, you pretty much just keep repeating this process. You need to find 2 more common eggs, max those out, fuse them for an uncommon, max that out, and then fuse it with your original egg. When done successfully, the pet will completely change into a new animal for the first of 2 times. You can buy common eggs from other players and higher tier eggs from the shop to speed things up, but that's up to you. To get to legendary, aside from paying that enormous cost, you need 2 more commons, max them out, fuse them, max the uncommon, then get 2 more commons again, max those out, fuse the uncommon for the 4th time, fuse both uncommons for your 2nd rare, then finally fuse the 2 rares together for a legendary. You can see why so many people buy their way to a divine instead. Legendary unlocks your final stat, and divine changes your pet into a larger, more majestic creature. Most of the time. One last thing I should mention are the pet skins, which are consumable items that change the appearance and, more importantly, the family of your pet. This means if you don't like the humanoid divine pet sprites, you can change the family to either spooky or unknown in this case, and gain access to a different set of divine pets. Even if you have a skin on a legendary pet, if you fuse to divine, the skin is replaced with a regular divine sprite. But if you use a skin on a divine pet, then you're kind of stuck with it. I think anyway. I don't have one, so I can't really test it. GHZD also brought up a small loophole that cuts the feeding time practically in half. By purchasing a legendary mystery egg from the shop at a discounted price, you can use 2 of the same pet skin on your already existing legendary pet and your recently purchased one to convert them to the same family, ignoring the likely fusion incompatibility. That's pretty much the gist of what goes into feeding and fusing pets. The best places to find high feed power items consistently for lower tier pets I found were Forbidden Jungles, since there are many per realm, they're easy to complete, and the untiered items drop at a fairly high rate. I would also recommend ocean trenches to an extent, since parts of the coral set are fairly common, some of which having very high feed, but getting loot in a public trench is near impossible these days unless you're melee. Once you get to legendary though, there really aren't any shortcuts that don't result from money coming out of your pocket. It's a long process. I haven't even gone to legendary yet myself. So with all of that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I was able to help out in some way, and as always, don't forget to check out the next episode whenever I post it, which will probably be soon. Alright. See ya.